What is up, Maniacs? My name is Zach, and I am the Milly Maker Maniac. Welcome to our Week 15 Player Pool video. I'll walk you through who all of my core plays are going to be. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Quickly, we can jump over to our game-by-game and grade spreadsheet that I make each week. I have my game-by-game breakdown for the main slate already up if you want to check that out. And if you're interested in getting these spreadsheets, just let me know. You can shoot me an email at millymakermaniac@gmail.com, and I'll send this over to you. But as far as matchup advantage goes, the best environments for quarterbacks, the biggest advantage that we're seeing starts with Philadelphia against the Raiders. Then we got the Seahawks against the Colts, the Giants against the Commanders, Jacksonville, New England, and then we have a group of five here, are all ranked at 5 with Houston, Baltimore, New Orleans, Washington, and Buffalo is at 4 there as well. So those are the environments kind of jump off the page for QBs this week. But let's look at how I have lined it out. So for my core plays this week, not a lot of pay down options here, but I'm going to be leaning into Josh Allen. I think there's a really good chance that he has to go into Superman mode. And when he does that, he has big games. Obviously, we've seen that recently in recent weeks with a 37-point game and a 47-point game, 2 out of the last 4 weeks. I think this is definitely a spot for him to go crazy in this game that they need to win to have any shot to win the division. If they lose, they will be on the road basically for the whole playoffs. So this is a big game for them to have any shot at taking down the division and having home games. They need to win this game. So I very much think it's a possibility for Josh Allen to just go absolutely crazy in this game. He's the highest priced quarterback, but he definitely can pay that off. He's capable of 40-plus points. Obviously, we've seen that in the past. So I don't think you need to stack him with anybody. Could bring Kincaid along with him, but really I would just play Josh Allen naked and then look for value across the board. He just spreads the ball around so much, and he rarely brings somebody along with him, even when he has these massive games. And then when he does, it's like completely random. So you have to waste so many lineups to get to that random add-on that lots of times isn't somebody that you have to have. It obviously give you leverage on the field last week if you would have had Dawson Knox, but you didn't have to have Dawson Knox either. So yeah, I'm not gonna chase any stacks with Josh Allen. I'm just gonna play Josh Allen naked. Drake May in that same game. Love stacking him with Diggs, Henry, and Butte would be the top 3 guys that I would stack him with. If this game goes crazy, Drake May could have a huge game for sure. There's a bunch of pieces out of this game with New England and Buffalo that I want to grab, and it starts with their quarterbacks. Then we got Joe Burrow. They're taking on the Ravens this week. They still have some hope for playoff contention to get into the playoffs. If they win out, I'm seeing basically their chances being about 26%. They need a lot of things to happen, but there's still a chance with their division record that they could make it happen. So Joe Burrow, obviously, with T. Higgins out, we would want to stack with Chase. And I think the next best stack would be with Gesicki, and then Tinsley, then Yoshavas. Tinsley's going to be pretty popular this week. I'll mix him into some tournaments for sure, but primarily just Burrow to Chase would be the main stack that I'd be looking for there. Purdy's in a really good spot this week against the Tennessee Titans. I like it a lot. Purdy plus Jennings plus Kittle, or even mixing in Pearsall and Kittle, I like a lot. Obviously, you could add McCaffrey in there too. I like the builds of when I don't have McCaffrey in there. So if McCaffrey just gets like 1 receiving touchdown and it's not a multiple touchdown game for him, then he's probably not going to pay off his price. So I can have some scenarios where Purdy throws a touchdown to McCaffrey, but you don't need McCaffrey. If Purdy throws for 4 touchdowns, but only one of them goes to McCaffrey, and then the other 3 are split between 2 of the other 3 guys, and Jennings, Pearsall, or Kittle, you could build out some really nice stacks there. So I really like Purdy this week. He'll be close to my highest owned quarterback actually this week. Then we got Jared Goff in a super high game total, tough matchup against the Rams. But the thing about Dan Campbell is he's playing to win every game. He's not playing to keep it close. If the Rams come out and are aggressive, I feel like the lines are going to shift, and though it will be very pass heavy to try to win a shootout. The Lions also, their defense has been really banged up. They lost Brian Branch this last week to an Achilles injury. So he's done for the year. So it's likely that the Lions are going to be giving up a lot of points, which sets up well for Jared Goff for them to have any chance, for Jared Goff to have a lot of pass volume. I could see him having 50-plus attempts in this game. And it's easy to stack him. They basically have 3 guys that you can stack him with. It's him and Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Jameson Williams. Different combinations of those 3 guys. I would probably double stack Goff in every lineup. I love Gibbs plus one of the receivers, but then I could also do the double stack with the 2 receivers as well. Goff is one of those guys that if he goes off and has a tournament-winning score, he's bringing guys along with him. Sam Darnold has a really good matchup against the Colts this week in their banged-up secondary. You got Ward out and Sauce Gardner. So it looks like a spot where they should be able to just dominate through the air. They should just be able to dominate this game in general. The question is do the Colts push back enough with a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers on the other side to allow them to score enough points to have tournament-winning scores? I think it's possible. It's unlikely, but I also think that they could just score 35, and it's like a 35-0 game in the first 3 quarters, and they do enough in that scenario to have a tournament-winning score. So Darnold to JSN is a fun stack that I want to build out quite a few different times. And then Jackson Dart playing against the Washington Commanders and their horrific defense. They have kind of limited Dart's rushing since his concussion, but in this game, like, they should be able to have big plays. My favorite stack with him is actually Darius Slayton. I've said that multiple times this year, and it's cost me a ton of money, but this could be the week that it plays out. Make an appearance, Coey. We got our older cat today trying to make an appearance. You got anything to say? What do you think about Jackson Dart? All right, I'll let you be free. Here, go down here. So, yeah, obviously, Wan'Dale Robinson makes a lot of sense here. The Commanders are really bad against slot receivers as well, but I think Slayton has the bigger upside. So stack it with both of those guys, or either or, I'm totally good with, and then it gives you a nice value stack that you can build around a lot of these other big games. Now, I think Matthew Stafford is very likely to have a 3 to 4 touchdown game, but you can see I don't have him as a core play just because, like, it's going to be, he doesn't really get 35-point games. I mean, he's done it a couple times. Let's go over here and look. But he really, to pay off this price completely, we need 28 plus. And we have 2 games where he's done 28 plus and none really around 35. Whereas these other pay-up options, in Josh Allen and Drake May, I think they have that 35-point upside this week. Joe Burrow as well. Same with Brock Purdy. I don't really think, like, Stafford could do it. I just think it's unlikely. And he also has, like, he has to get to that 300-yard bonus to have a chance to pay off. If he has, like, 250 and 4, which is definitely a possibility. Like, there's a chance that the Rams just dominate this game. They're almost a touchdown favorite. So that's definitely a possibility. Obviously, when we're looking at it from a DFS standpoint, we would be looking for that back and forth, that high total game where they score about 70 points between the 2 teams. If that happens, like, Stafford definitely could pay off this price, but I think it's more likely that he has like a 20 to 25 point day, and at 7K, that doesn't really pay off. There's going to be somebody cheaper that pays off that price, so that's where I'm going to go. I'll build this group over here. Out of like 150 lineups, I'm building somewhere between 10 and 15 with all these guys, and then this group is 8 or less is what I'm building. Stafford would be closer to that 8 range for me, but I don't want to build like 10-plus lineups with Stafford. I want plenty of Puka. I want a decent amount of Devontae Adams, but I just think it's going to be hard for Stafford to pay off that price this week. Goff has a much higher likelihood, in my mind, of paying off his price at $900 cheaper. Then we got Hurts in one of the best quarterback matchups of the week in Philly, but we know that they've been struggling. He hasn't really been running much. So it's a good spot for him. He'll probably be around that 8 lineup mark for me as well. And he's easy to stack. Like, we know it's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and we can sprinkle in some Dallas Goedert in there as well. But I think, again, like, he's seeing that real true upside where he's around 30 points. I think it's pretty unlikely. I could definitely see him having like a 20-point game and they have like a solid day. I think the most likely person in that game to have the blow-up game would actually be Saquon, but I do want to try to get some pieces of the pass game as well. Mahomes in Arrowhead against the Chargers. I think this will actually be a pretty defensive game. Just the Chiefs' defense is probably going to dominate this O-line that's just been decimated by injuries in the Chargers. So I don't really see them having to push. So I think Mahomes has a decent day, but not a tournament-winning score. So I'll probably be fading that one. I'll probably only have like 3 Mahomes lineups. I will mix in some Rashee Rice across my player pool, but Mahomes I just don't see. Lamar is the one that I was closest to bringing over to this other group over here, but actually both him and Trevor Lawrence I like at their price points and to have big days. But Lamar's playing the Bengals. Obviously, he didn't do anything against them last time, but he was close to a big score with an offensive PI and a fumble at the goal line by Isaiah Likely. So we have to take all that into consideration. He's definitely capable of 30-point game. So probably somewhere in the 5 to 8 range. But Trevor Lawrence, they have a good matchup this week. Let's see over here. Let's go over to the third highest score of the week as far as the quarterback matchup. They play, who do they play down here? Oh, yeah, they play the Jets. So obviously we know the Jets aren't doing much, but I think they'll probably do a lot through the run game. But they might try to work on some more explosive pass plays just because they're going to need that dynamic for the playoffs. So they might use this as an opportunity to lean into that. So I like both Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas this week. And I will definitely build some Trevor Lawrence lineups. I think I like his pass catchers more than I actually like him in the lineups. So I will have some Brian Thomas and Jacoby Myers spread out across my player pool. Jordan Love has been solid in recent weeks, but they play the Broncos in Denver. I think that likely is going to be a pretty defensive battle. Not really high scoring. So I don't think this is the week for Love. Stroud, they play the Cardinals. I could see it. I really like Nico this week. But with no rushing upside, I just think like Dart in that same range is more attractive. I actually think Mariota is more attractive in that same range. Yeah, I mean, Stroud has to do like the same thing for Stafford. Obviously, he's like $1,800 cheaper. So Stroud, it's easier for him to pay off his price for the 25 spot. But he really needs to get 303 to pay off. And I don't know that they're going to be pushed enough against the Cardinals to have to do that. We'll see. But probably around that 5 lineup range for CJ Stroud as well. Then Mariota, really good spot against the Giants. If this was Jaden Daniels, I would have a ton of him. I'll probably be around 8 with Mariota as well, 8 lineups. Then down here, I don't really believe in any of these guys. Like, I believe in Shedeur as just a good NFL quarterback, but it's going to be a pretty tough environment. It's supposed to be around -10 at kickoff in this game, so I just don't think it's going to be a very offensive game. Like, I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. But I want to just mix in a little Shedeur because it's fun to root for him. And obviously, he paid off his price last week, and we had some good lineups with him that paid off for us. Bryce Young, they play the Saints. So we have this matchup down here at the bottom. I think Shuck's more likely to do something here, but Young has had kind of random games. So 2 or 3 lineups for both of these guys, but not a ton. I'm not playing Brissett this week. I'm not playing Nix. I'm not playing Herbert. I will play one Phillip Rivers lineup just because it's fucking epic that he's playing this week. But, I mean, they have a 14-point team total. It would be crazy if he did anything. The fact that he's not 4K is ridiculous. But I'll play one lineup just for shits and giggles. But, yeah, there's a lot of guys that I'm not playing this week. I'm really going to lean into these core guys and feel pretty good about one of these 7 guys being the tournament-winning quarterback that you have to have. Let's jump over to running back. We can go to our other spreadsheet and see where our best running back matchups are of the week. We got it for Baltimore, Washington, Philly, Houston, Buffalo, and then it fades off there. But we got Seattle, New York, Denver, Jacksonville, and New England. So my go-to plays this week are McCaffrey, Gibbs, Cook, Henry, Barkley, and ETN. I think they're all going to get really solid volume. And they have pretty solid matchups. Henry has a really good matchup against Cincinnati. I think he's lost a step, but this matchup is so good that it makes sense for him to score 2 touchdowns. I think this is going to be the Saquon week. I'm really leaning into Saquon pretty heavily this week. I think they're going to try to get right, and they got right last year by running the football. I'm hoping that they do more under center stuff. Obviously, it would make sense for them to have done it a lot earlier, and we can't really have a lot of confidence in this coaching staff to make adjustments because they haven't done it throughout the year. But it would make sense for them to do so in this matchup. So maybe they come through. I'll probably be about 20-25% Barkley this week, and then Gibbs and McCaffrey I'll probably be about the same as well, and then 15% for these other guys. ETN got the vast amount of the workload last week, and against the Jets, it just is a really good spot. So these guys are by far my core, about 15% ownership or better for all of these guys. TreVeyon Henderson against the Bills. The Bills have been a run funnel. Henderson can also do it through the passing game. He hasn't had too many big plays yet this year, but he's definitely capable of it. I think in that game where Josh Allen goes into hero mode, I really like Henderson to have a big play or two in that. So I like the Josh Allen, TreVeyon Henderson stack for that game. And then we got RJ Harvey, who's been getting a lot of volume recently and looked a lot better last week. Much tougher matchup this week against the Packers, but that really is they don't really have a weakness, but it is the biggest weakness on that Packers defense. So I like Harvey a lot. It's hard to find value this week at running back. You can see all these guys that I have over here are all pretty much pay up options. So it is having a good value in there is solid. Swift at 5,700, and I got Monungai down here as well. They play the Browns this week, which is going to show up on the chart as a real negative matchup. We can go look at that over here. Where are the Bears? Chicago, yeah. They're actually showing a completely neutral matchup. It's because they've been really good on the ground, and then they're facing a really good run defense in Cleveland this week. So it's kind of like a wash there. It's good on good. But Cleveland, once they lost, the guy's name is eluding me, but they lost a defensive lineman that doesn't put up big stats, but is a key component of their run game. And obviously last week they gave up a big game to the Titans. So I think it's possible for the Bears to have success on the ground. And I also think this game's, like I said, it was going to be -10 kickoff. We should expect them to try to run the ball and try to take the ball out of Caleb Williams' hand with Myles Garrett on the other side pursuing the sack record. So I don't think that they're going to try to – I think they're just going to try to win this game by running the ball and playing defense in a really cold environment. So I think both these guys are going to get a lot of volume. Swift, I think, has the highest upside of breaking a big one and hitting that 25-point score. But Monungai could have 80 yards and then 2 touchdowns falling in the end zone. So both guys are usable. Woody Marks is going to be really popular. Every time Woody Marks has been popular this year, he's been an absolute flop, even though they are playing the Cardinals this week. Their defense has been really bad against the run, and it looks like Chubb is probably going to be out. I don't see it. I'll probably have around 10% Marks, but I'm not going to be above the field on him. I just think that he's not a good interior runner, and if they had to lean on him to do that all game, I think that there's plenty of ways that he fails there. So I want to actually be below the field on Marks. Devin Neal's going to get a lot of volume in that Carolina game. And you could see a game where he gets to that 25 points. I think it's more likely he'll be around that 10 to 15 mark. But if he does get that 25, he could definitely win you a tournament. Washington playing the Giants, a really good matchup. We do have the split in Washington. Right now, it's Chris Rodriguez running lead there and getting all the goal line work. He was limited all week in practice. It's likely that he'll play, but we could see some limited reps. If he was good all week, I would have probably had him over here and had a lot more of him. But right now, I'll probably have about 5%. If he isn't going to play, then I would definitely move Bill up, JCM. At 4,400, I would probably make him a core play. He would open up a lot if Chris Rodriguez wasn't playing, but I'm assuming that he's going to play. I like Chuba in this range. It was a very split backfield last week, and Chuba can get to 20 even on 12 carries or even if he gets around 15 total touches, which I think he'll get in this game. And this is in a dome against New Orleans. So I think he's a good value down here at 4,600. Tootin, I just wanted to mention, he fumbled a couple times last week and also had an injury. he looks like he's going to play. But yeah, they might use this as an opportunity to get him going again, but I really think they're just going to lean into ETN for the playoff push. I'm actually passing on Taylor this week. You could see a scenario where everybody's going to be around McCaffrey and Gibbs, so like he is a good leverage play this week. But I just think the Colts are really going to struggle to move the football, and I don't really want to make any bets on the Colts this week. It'd be so sick if Phillip Rivers was awesome this week. I think it is pretty unlikely. But I'm fading a lot of guys: Jacobs, Williams, Chase Brown. Dowdle's a guy that I was close to moving over. I think they'll lean on him again at 6,600. He could pay off that price. He might be a guy that I mix in a little bit. Judkins, I just don't see it in that environment. I think it's going to be low scoring again. And that O-line. The O-line for the Browns, there's a chance that all 5 starters are missed this week on their offensive line, and they've already been bad. So could be tough sledding for the Browns this week. I hope not. I want Shedeur to have another successful week, but could be a tough spot for him. Let's jump over to wide receiver. Wide receiver, really, all the pay-up options are awesome this week. Like, it's a great spot for Puka. It's a great spot for JSN. It's a great spot for Jamar. It's a good spot for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not great, but good. You just know he's going to it's almost a certainty that he's leaving with, 12-plus targets in this game. So, obviously, with that, he can pay off the 7,900 price. I like Rice, actually, too. I think he matches up well against the Chargers and is most likely to score a touchdown in that receiving core. Love Nico at 6,700. I like Wandale 5,900. BTJ 5,700. And Jacoby Myers. Like I said, I like the passing game for the Jags this week against the Jets. Really like both the Commanders receivers. I like Terry more, but I think it's also a good spot with Debo being out. I think Debo's could get a lot of that like short intermediate work that Zach Ertz had. Obviously, he's out for the year with an ACL and possibly for his career. But I think Debo picks up a good chunk of that work. And then I like both San Francisco receivers, too, at a very attractive price. Slayton has hurt me. He's hurt me many times this year. But at 4,400, like, it feels like this is the week that he gets that 25 spot. I'm probably going to have about 25% Slayton this week. Tinsley is the go-to punt play for everybody this week. There's not a lot in the punt play range. We'll talk about some other guys you could mix in over here, but he seems like the most obvious one. I can see a lot of way he fails, though. Like, he's more of like popular because everybody's paying up and you have to have somebody to punt to. But I don't think he's popular because people actually believe that he's going to put up like a 15 spot or anything like that. I think it's just like he probably gets 5 targets, and this is the best we can do down here. So not in love with it, but there's not much better in that range. I definitely like Puka better than Devontae. Devontae hasn't, if we go over here and look at his game log, too far down. Whoops. Here we go. You can see, like, he hasn't had any crazy ceiling games. Like, he's getting the touchdowns. Like, these are 2 touchdown games, but he's not getting the yardage to go along with it. So, like, to 4X this, I don't think he has a single 4X of that score all year long. He's been in the ballpark, but we haven't seen anything above 28 for him yet this year. I think he could definitely get a 20 spot, but at his price, it doesn't really pay off for a tournament-winning player. So that's why I don't have him as a core play. A.J. Brown has been solid in recent weeks, and this is a really good matchup. He was close to being a core play for me. I just felt like I needed to narrow this down a little bit, and I would rather have Nico than I would A.J. Brown, but it's not a huge gap. I love J-Mo primarily in my stacks with Goff, but he's somebody that I can mix in outside of just Goff stacks. And same thing with Devonta Smith. I like this range. These guys are all pretty solid, but I needed to narrow it down a little bit. I like Brian Thomas and Jacoby Myers and Wandale better in that range, so I felt like I had to move them over here. I like that range a lot. I think there's likely to be 2 or 3 guys that come out of that range. I think it's more likely that it's Collins, Robinson, BTJ, or Myers, but it could be J-Mo, A.J. Brown, and Smith as well. We got Booty in that high total game in New England and Buffalo. Like, if that goes into the shootout mode, you could definitely see Booty with a touchdown or 2 and a big play. The Bears have been really bad this year about giving up big plays. I think Jerry Jeudy is the most likely for the Browns to have a big play. And yeah, so I think if someone's going to have a big play, like if Shador continues to have success, I think Judy is likely the guy that reaps the benefits from that. Coker has been solid. He's been trending in the right direction. Let's go look at his game log as he's come back from the injury. I've got a good chunk of Coker and best ball in my lineups that have advanced, so hopeful that he can ball out and pay off. But yeah, we can see his targets have been solid at 4 and then jumping up to 6 last week and got in the end zone. So I think he's a solid punt play coming off a 17-point game at 3,900. He's definitely a good punt play. And then Tesla, with Sam Laporta still out, like he's going to be on the field a decent amount, and he's been scoring touchdowns. He can easily pay off this 3,500. Like he's not getting any sort of volume. He's getting more volume in recent weeks, but yeah, like, I mean, a 10 spot or a 12 spot pays off his price. Like every time he's getting on the field, he's scoring touchdowns. He's got 4 TDs on 8 receptions. So I think he's a decent punt play. I think there's a chance that if it's a real shootout, he could be the guy that you randomly comes out of nowhere and gets 5 or 6 catches and gets in the end zone because all their coverage is going to be focused on Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Could open up some stuff for him. So I like him as a punt play. Bateman, I think he's going to play, but it's just another game that's likely to have a lot of points. And when you can get a piece that has had history of big games in the past, let's see, it doesn't say if he practiced at all. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that can score, have big scores at 3,400. That's somebody that we want to mix into our player pool in a good matchup. I actually am just going to full fade Michael Wilson this week. I think this is where it ends. It's probably not the right play with the amount of volume that he's been getting, but so much of it has just been a garbage time, and I know those points count, but I think this is the week that like the magic that they've had kind of wears off at 6,600. Like we can see, obviously he's had big weeks and he's paid it off with these crazy target numbers. Man, those are crazy target numbers. So it is kind of hard to fade completely, but I just think that this is the week it stops. So yeah, I'm going to lean into that. Like all these guys, there's a lot of good plays at receiver this week. Like I like Diggs. I'm okay with Olave and Tedero McMillan. But I'll primarily be playing these guys just with their quarterbacks when I build out the stacks with their QBs. Diggs was close to being moved over here for me as well. Obviously had a big game against the Bills last time. Big game. He probably should be over here, actually. I could mix him in lineups without May. But, yeah, just we had to make some stands somewhere. And this is where I felt like there's a higher likelihood of Jameson Williams and Devontae Smith in that range going off. And then even more over here, Wandale and BTJ. So that's why I'm fading Diggs. Wilson, though, I might have to move him back over and mix him in a little bit. Like, we can't just fully fade 16 targets the more I think about it. But I do think this is the week that he comes back down to earth and scores like maybe 10, 15, something in that ballpark. And which doesn't absolutely kill you at 6,600, but it's not a tournament-winning score. And I think that there's some tournament-winning scores in that range that will happen this week. I just don't think it's going to be him. All right, let's move on to tight ends. Love to get to Kittle whenever I can. I just think it's going to be hard to pay up this week at tight end because you're probably going to want to pay up at least once at wide receiver and then probably twice at running back. And you can't really get too much of a discount at quarterback this week, so we're probably going to have to punt most of our lineups at tight end and might have to play some 2 tight end lineups. But I like Kittle a lot. Kincaid seems to be like the most reliable target for Josh Allen. He's really the only pass catcher that I would build into lineups with Allen and could mix in a little bit outside of Allen. Fannon's been really solid and seems to be the go-to guy for Shador. I think he'll be pretty popular this week. The weather concerns me a little bit, but I'll still go to Fannin. Theo Johnson against the Commanders is a great matchup. I like him a lot this week. Likely would have had a big game against the Bengals last time. Had a solid game against them, actually, but would have been a lot bigger if he got in the end zone. Let's look at that game. Here it is. Yeah, 5 for 6 and 95. He had a touchdown to that. That's a real big week for 3,400. And I think we could go back to that this week. Gesicki was really solid last week. 6 for 6 and 86 with Higgins out. I think he's the one that picks up the majority of that volume. So I like him a lot in that range. Like these guys too, just not as much as these guys. Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, and Mark Andrews. I wanted to mention Jeremy Ruckert because Mason Taylor's out this week for the Jets. And yeah, I mean, I don't think the Jets are going to do anything, but at 2,500, he's a guy that would make sense with a young rookie and Cook starting this week that they could just dump off and he could end up with like five catches and pay off his price just on volume. So somebody to mention, but not somebody that I'm in love with. Jump over to defense. We look at, from a matchup standpoint on our spreadsheet, the biggest advantage is Houston against Arizona, then Kansas City, then the Rams, and the Browns. I'm getting to the Browns the most at 2,700. I like the Packers against the Broncos too. I think Bo Nix is likely to turn the ball over. Rams at 3K, Chiefs 3,300, Bears 3,500. All of these guys are solid. Obviously, we have to pay up. I don't, like, if I have to punt, like, I think the Saints is really the lowest I'd want to go. Maybe the Chargers in that same range. But don't really want to go anywhere else here. So it's going to be tough. It's a tight week if we don't get any value at running back, which it's kind of trending towards that we are not. So it's going to be tough to build lineups this week. Let's go ahead and build one. I haven't done a Goff lineup yet, so I'll go ahead and just build that here. We're going to go a Gibbs and Amon-Ra lineup here. We'll go on the high end, and we'll bring in Puka. So we're going to have to punt everywhere else. Let's see here. So go ahead and plug in the Browns at defense. Let's go with the cheap tight end. Let's go with Gesicki down here at 3,300. And then at running back, who's our punt play? Let's go with, sorry, I was looking for this. I think we might bring over Chuba. It's definitely a tournament-only play, but it makes sense for Chuba to get some more run. He's coming off a 20-point game. If we got 20 from him at 4,600, that is definitely a solid win. And one guy I know I want to get in here for sure is Slayton. He's hurt me all year long. Why stop now? Let's just lean right back into it. Hurt me again, Darius Slayton. Hurt me again. All right, and we got 4,600 remaining. So we could get to Kincaid. Could go Judy as well. Hunter Henry's in this range. We could also get to, we'd go double tight ends. And we could go Fannin. So here's Fannin. Let's do that. Let's see what happens if we go Fannin. Where can we get to on defense? Opens up the Chiefs or the Rams. We don't want the Rams in this lineup for sure. Yeah, let's go Chiefs against the Chargers and that O-line that has just been decimated. So we got a Goff stack. So we're playing a big game stack of the Rams and Lions, which should be pretty popular, but I don't think Goff is actually going to be that popular. So that gives a little leverage on the field. So we got Goff, Gibbs, and oops, it looks like I put in A.J. Brown. That was not the intent. That was supposed to be Amon-Ra. So we are going to have to make some adjustments here. Whoops. All right. So we're not going to have the Chiefs. So let's go back to the Browns. Does this allow, if we take out Fanning, can we get to, yeah, we can. We could either get to Theo Johnson or we could do Isaiah Likely here. We could also do Tesla. That'd be kind of dirty, actually. So, yeah, I could see that. Goff throws for 4 or 5 touchdowns. 2 of them go to Tesla. Not completely impossible. Do I like that better than Likely? No, I do not. I think Likely is just likely to get more volume. So we'll go there. We'll go 2 tight ends in that Baltimore-Cincinnati game. So we get 2 cheap pieces in a game, another high total game. We get a good defense against a quarterback likes to hold the ball and has been known to turn it over. So I like the Browns there in tough weather conditions. But now we got Goff, Gibbs, and Brown facing off against Puka. So Puka, definitely we're looking for a 40-plus point game from Puka for this lineup to take down the Milly. This is the week that Slayton gets that 25, maybe even 30-point game, gets 2 long touchdowns against the horrific Washington defense. Gesicki picks up a good chunk of volume, gets in the end zone. He might even get that 100-yard bonus. He was somewhat close last week at 86. Yeah, I like that a lot. And then likely he just doesn't drop the ball in the end zone or at the goal line this week, and he gets that second touchdown, or in this case, just one touchdown. But he gets to 20. We get to 20 from likely. And Caleb Williams throws a bad pick early and a pick six scenario for Browns. There it is. There's $1 million. All right, my friends, good luck this week. Fun week 15. It's my favorite time of year. We got our regular season-long playoffs. We got best ball playoffs. And we're taking down the Milly for the regular DFS slate. A lot to love this weekend. Enjoy the fantasy playoffs, my friends, and good luck. I hope you all make tons of money, just not the Milly, because I already got dibs, my friends. All right, have a great week. We will talk to you soon and see you on Monday.